Hello and welcome to Hub City Now. I'm your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr. We have another great show for you today. Today we're going to be talking about the second annual Casey Jones Village Festival, which will be Saturday, October 14th in Jackson, Tennessee at the Casey Jones Village, which is located at 56 Casey Jones Lane. I'm sorry. And we had expected to have Brooks Shaw here today, but he was not able to come. But he sent someone who was very well able and capable of telling us about this great event, someone who actually helped plan it for last year. And again, this is a second annual event. We have with us today Brianna Kline, who is the Old Country Store marketing and events leader. And we're glad to have her on the show today. She was told at last minute to be on here, so we're grateful for her being here today. We're going to, before we get into the festival, we would like to find out more about you, where you're from, who you are, and how did you get involved with the Old Country Store?
Sure. My name is Brianna Kline, and I was born in Knoxville. Okay. I grew up in East Tennessee, Smoky Mountain area. Mm-hmm. My dad still lives there. He's a wildlife and nature photographer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. My mom lives in Myrtle Beach, so I've traveled a lot. Awesome. My brother's in the Navy, so I've had opportunities to go to Spain and Italy to visit him, and kind of be well-rounded, traveling all over. Right. So that's where I'm from.
What brought you over to West Tennessee?
My husband was stationed here.
Okay.
He's in the Air Force, and he was stationed in Jackson as a recruiter. So that brought us from Florida to here.
So you went from East Tennessee to Florida, and now you're here in West Tennessee.
I actually went from East Tennessee to MTSU. So I've been in Middle Tennessee too. Okay. And then I went to New Hampshire to be closer to my mom before she moved to Myrtle Beach. And then I went to Florida for 5 years and then ended up here.
Oh my goodness! So how many
all
years?
Over Tennessee.
Yeah. How many years have you been here in West Tennessee now?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you end up being part of Old Country Store?
I actually volunteered at the museum, the Casey Jones Home and Railroad Museum. My son, he was 18 months when we moved here, and I wanted to do something kind of cheap or free to occupy our time to get him involved. He has high-functioning autism. Okay. So getting him in social situations where he wasn't just at home with me all the time really helped build his social skills and communication. So I was always looking for opportunities to do that with him, and I found out that the Railroad Museum offered a weekly story time. Okay. And they did it for a little bit when we first moved here, and the lady who ran it went back to her full-time job. So there became nobody to run the story time. So I volunteered over there actually for 3 years before I applied for a job. When my son started full-time school, I had more time and more hours and availability, so I applied for a cashier position at the museum. Okay. But I had an interview with Brooks over at the Old Country Store because he likes to see all the people who come in face-to-face before he hires them. And I had been helping Laura Beaver, she's the director at the museum, with some social media stuff because I said, I have a lot of friends who have kids, like moms who want to do the same thing that I was doing, and they want more activities and to be involved in the community, and somewhere to go that is safe and family friendly. So I was like, I really think people will come into this museum if we advertise it better on social media. So I started doing that for them also, making graphics and just posting events online to try to get more people in the door and spread the word. Brooks found out about that, and he said, well, I know you want to be a cashier, but I would really like you to be the social media and marketing manager for the whole village.
Wow, that's awesome. You created your job.
Yeah, so he was like, I really like what you've been doing, and I'd just like you to do that for the museum and Dixie and in the store. So that's what I've been doing the last 2.5 years.
Wow, that's awesome. That's an awesome story. So tell us about the before we get to the festival. There's another event that happened. By the time this airs, the 3rd annual Clark Shaw Memorial Prayer Walk would have happened already. Tell us a little bit about that prayer walk and why it's important for the community.
The prayer walk has been run by Pastor Garry Martin for several years, and Clark was always involved in that. So when he passed away, Brooks talked to him about calling it the Clark Shaw Memorial Prayer Walk. We sponsor all the food, we set up all the details, and kind of take some of that weight off of him as far as planning and advertising goes. So this the 3rd year that we're calling it the Clark Shaw Memorial Prayer Walk.
Okay.
And the whole point of it is to go out in that neighborhood, Old Hickory Boulevard kind of area, and just pray over all the people who live there, pray that they have secure finances, healthy relationships in their marriage, with their kids, with God. So really just bringing the community together to pray over this street that we know has needs.
Right. And it featured a cookout hosted by the Jackson Police Department and Fire Department.
Yes.
Which is awesome. Burgers, hot dogs, sides, and fun activities for the whole family. So
And
go ahead.
Jumpers for the kids,
Right.
And different activities for everybody to enjoy. So it really is a family-friendly event.
That's awesome. So I'm sure there'll be a 4th annual and so on and so forth for next year.
Yes.
So we're very thankful for that prayer walk in the community and how the community comes together each year to celebrate Clark Shaw. And now we want to move over to the 2nd annual. Well, let's talk about the 1st annual Casey Jones Village Festival, which happened last year. Tell us about that. What was the idea behind that? Why was that something that occurred?
Right. So the Madison County celebrated its bicentennial last year, which is 200 years of Jackson-Madison County. And they assigned different leaders in the community different months to plan things.
Okay.
So the month of July last year was Transportation Month. So we were like, well, Casey Jones, the train museum,
right.
we are all over transportation.
Right.
And we have a big leg in tourism. We get tour buses, people from all over the world. So we were like, yes, we'll do tourism, or
Right.
we'll do Transportation Month. And so that's why I was in July last year. And that really kind of kick-started it. We had always wanted to do some big community event like that. But the Bicentennial co-sponsored it and helped us. We got other sponsors like Coca-Cola, Darts Carts, Summit Management Group, and a lot of different community people that we work with supported us and helped us make that a great event. But really, that was the main push behind it, was doing it for the bicentennial, and then it went so well that we decided we want to do this every year. But maybe not in July when it's 100 degrees.
Right, exactly.
So this year we plan to do it in the fall. And that kind of fits us more too, like the old-timey, the leaves are changing, and it looks so beautiful on the farm in the fall. It's cooler for the guests to be outside, and so that's how we came about doing it in October this year.
That's awesome. What was it like being a year into the job that you created and having to plan for this festival?
Yeah. So it was a lot because I'd never planned an event at that capacity. So I really didn't know what I was getting into. It was a learning opportunity for sure. Just learning how to work with different vendors and the planning aspects of, okay, everybody's going to pay this amount and who's paid and who hasn't paid and spreadsheets and
Right.
here's where everybody's going and this is where you need to be at this time and we need volunteers for this and they need to be here at this time and what's the food going to be like?
Right.
Just all the planning and then the advertising, what my job actually is, so the social media pushes and press releases and different aspects.
Right.
So I really learned a lot. I learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work the first year.
Right. So this year, the event is going to be Saturday, October 14th. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the farm located just behind Brooks Shaw's Old Country Store. Tell us what people can expect from this year's event, the second annual event.
Well, this year is going to be very similar to last year. It's a free event for everybody to come and enjoy, whether you're traveling like between Memphis and Nashville or from a different country or if you're local. Everybody is invited to come. The difference this year is, like I said, we're doing it in the fall, so it's cooler. It's cooler, right. And we're doing all the food this year. We're not having food vendors. Okay. So that's different.
Okay.
But we are having a lot of the same things as far as we have a petting zoo that's been to our store several times. We're having jumpers and different crafts and artisans. Art in the Village with Mary Spellings. They set up a whole tent in front of their store that's in the Casey Jones Village shops.
Okay.
Last year they did some on-site pottery lessons, and so that was really neat. And then we have living history actors who come and portray different characters. One is a founding father of Jackson.
Okay.
So he's going to be over at the museum doing a few presentations. This year we also added historical structures tours, which is something that we did throughout the summer last year, but not during the festival.
Okay.
And
what
basically,
is that? Tell us about that.
Yes. So basically everybody asks us, what's the history? Like, how long has this building been here? How did you acquire this chapel? And so basically you start at the museum, the Casey Jones Museum, and you go through Casey Jones' home, which is from the 1800s. It's where he lived with his wife and 3 kids at the time of his accident. And it used to be on West Chester Street in downtown Jackson.
I remember when they moved it up to the village.
Yes. The Shaws have a history of moving big buildings.
Right.
So that one came from downtown. So you go through the whole house and learn some of the history about Casey Jones and who he was. And different pieces in the house that were created by his wife. She has a few tatted blanket coverlets and a reverse painting on glass that we show everybody. So some of the things are actually belonged to the Jones family. And then from there, we take them down to the village shops and kind of explain about Mary Spellings and Art in the Village, how they have over 50 West Tennessee local artists who are vendors there. They are a nonprofit, so all of that money goes back to their organization. And then we go from there down to the Village Chapel, which was moved from Haywood County. And we talk about the history of that and different events that we do there, like the candlelight service close to Christmas Eve. And then we go to the farm and talk about how that was constructed in 2010 with the intentions of using some of that homegrown food in the kitchen. And then it kind of had like a lull between when it was created and now, but now we've like completely revamped it. We've put seating out there, we've put walkways out there, all kinds of wildflowers, herbs, vegetables, muscadines. There's a muscadine tunnel that's really cool. So we like to show everybody that and tell them the history of and the purpose behind that. And then we go up to the Providence House and tell the history of that, how it was built in I believe it's 37. That might not be correct. But it was built by James Scrape in Trenton, Tennessee. And it's actually, we have a Civil War sign. Civil War trail sign out front to tell the history of the building.
Okay.
And he was an escaped prisoner of war and relocated to Trenton. And then when he passed away, it went to Judge M.M. Neal. And then when he passed away, he gave it to his daughter. Mm-hmm. And they lived right next to a church in Trenton. The church inherited it from the daughter. And like at that time, everybody had been walking to church, but at that time, more automobiles were becoming popular. They needed parking. They tried to use the building for different things like Sunday school, but I mean, it's a house, so it really wasn't fitting their needs. Right. They had several people try to come in and restore it, but the funding wasn't there, and so Clark and Juanita heard about it, and they said, well, we'll take it. We'll just move it to the village. So they actually moved it in two pieces, the whole top floor and the whole bottom floor, and moved it from Trenton to here. But the coolest thing about the building is that it was the tallest building in Trenton, Tennessee at the time of the Civil War Battle of Trenton. Wow. So people actually climbed onto the top of the house to watch the Battle of Trenton. That's crazy. And a lot of people don't know that, so I love to share that during the historical structures tours.
That's awesome.
And then they end in Miss Ann's Ice Cream Parlor, which is a 1800s styled parlor. We have an old soda fountain in there. It's one of 3 of its kind. Okay. So just all the antiques and the different things we talk about, and then they get a free scoop of ice cream.
That's awesome. What about the Native American statue in front of the building?
Those have been removed.
Those been removed?
They weren't owned by us. Yeah.
Oh, really?
They were leased to us by a different family, and they removed them. Actually, when we were moving Wellwood, the other...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wellwood was the first country store that the original owner, Brooks Shaw, so Brooks is my boss's grandfather. Right. Who originally founded the store. He worked in Wellwood Country Store as a kid. That was his first job. Right. So we have that building also that we just moved from in front of the Dixie Cafe to the other side of the building, which was a huge deal for us too. Because that made room for the drive-through. Right. And now we're expanding the dining room seating. We're building a tunnel to go to that building to have even more seating available and a private room for conferences or whatever people need to use it for. Okay.
Well, you all have been busy.
Oh, we've been so busy.
There's been a lot going on. So tell us. Tell people who might be interested in being vendors who they can contact if they want to still be a vendor. And if a business wants to be a sponsor of this event, how can they do that? How can they contact?
Anyone who's interested in being a vendor or a sponsor for our event, you can contact our activities and events coordinator, Roxanne Lyons, at Lyons, Lyons, at ocs@gmail.com. Okay. And we're looking for vendors who have some kind of artisan craft. We've had wood carvers, we've had soap makers, different things like that. Or we've also had small businesses that sell homemade jewelry, crocheted items, T-shirts, tumblers, anything like that. This year we also have some non-paying vendors, which are people who just come and do demonstrations. So we've had the Girl Scouts come before, and we've had Aero Athletics and a few other businesses who just want to advertise what they're doing, and we waive the fee for them since they're not selling anything. They're just giving out information and there to help the community.
Okay. That's awesome. Will there be water balloons again this year?
Water balloons happens on 731 Day.
Oh, well, yes. I thought there was a, last year's event, there was a thing where.
Oh, you could
sling
the jumper guy did, We didn't actually ask him to bring that.
Really?
He just brought it, I think, because it was so hot.
Okay.
But he did have a slingshot thing with the water balloons, yes.
Right, where you could throw the balloon from one person to the next to see who will pop it.
He's not bringing it this year, but we have bigger jumpers than we had last year.
Okay,
so we're compromising with that.
Face painters.
Yes.
Or you have face, okay.
Yes, we have face painters. We have live music going on throughout the whole day.
Can you tell us who'll be there?
Brandon Kirk, Scott Myatt. I don't remember all the names of the vendors, but Roxanne would know that information. Okay. She has a whole list. But they'll be playing 30-minute sets throughout the whole day.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That is awesome. Again, the second annual Casey Jones Village Festival, October 14th. How can people find out more information about Casey Jones, the Casey Jones Village, and everything, all the shops and everything?
Any of our events, if you ever want information about them, I always tell people to go to our website, caseyjones.com/events, and you can find any event that we're doing in the village. So things at the museum, things on the farm, things at the chapel. We always post them there with all the information. Another place you can look is on our Facebook page, the Old Country Store. And we post them in the events tab on those as well.
Okay. All right. And you all also have an Instagram page.
Yes, we have Instagram.
Instagram.com/CaseyJonesVillage.
Yes.
And the Old Country Store will celebrate its 60th anniversary in 2025.
Yes, we are very excited about that. We've already started creating a committee.
Okay.
So that we have this planned out way in advance.
Right.
We want to do a lot of cool stuff that year and throughout the whole year, not just
so it's going to be a year celebration.
It's going to be a year-long celebration,
Okay. Casey Jones, Old Country Store is open daily, year-round, except for Easter, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, and December 26th. Brooks Shaw's Old Country Store includes the restaurant, Miss Ann's Ice Cream Shop, Miss Juanita's Gift Shop, and the Dixie Cafe Takeout or Dine-In at 56 Casey Jones Lane in Jackson, Tennessee. Again, the second annual Casey Jones Village Festival will be Saturday, October 14th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's also something else neat that you all, and we have a few more minutes. There's something else neat that you all did last year was the passport, the stamps. Tell us about that.
Yes. So we have a passport. It's kind of this size, and it says Casey Jones Village Passport on it. Mm-hmm. And what you do is you get one when you first come to the festival at the front of the farm. We'll be passing them out at the front doors at the Old Country Store also. Mm-hmm. And what you do is you go around to each of the buildings. So you go to the museum and they have a stamp, and you go to Art in the Village and they have a stamp.
Okay.
And then you go to the farm and they have a stamp, and then you end up in Miss Ann's Ice Cream Parlor. Mm-hmm. And they have their own stamp. And once you get all 4 stamps, you get a free scoop of ice cream.
Okay. All right.
And that's kind of our way to say, hey, come check out all the things that we have going on. Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. That is awesome. There's so much that you can do at the Casey Jones Village. There's the museum. The original 1970s home of Casey Jones railroad exhibits. It's an amazing museum. I've been there a couple of times. I've watched the videos, and I've heard the bell ring. I've heard people ring the bell, the engine 382.
And that's what he was known for. He was known for that specific sound of his whistle. The whippoorwill whistle is what he called it. And that's always the whistle that he had on his specific engine, the 382.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
He was actually so on time that people would set their watches according to hearing his whistle go by at a certain time because they knew he was on schedule.
That's a good, you can't get a better reputation than that, being on time. We got just a few more minutes. I think it's fascinating how you were able to create the job that you wanted, that you had those skills and that you were ready to step into that position, not knowing what that all entailed. usually on this show, when we have somebody who has a career and who's done something like that, we ask them to give advice to somebody else that might be their expertise. They might be really good at planning events or doing social media, and that's how our world runs now. That's the main advertising that we do now is through social media. There might be somebody who's watching this show or listening to it right now who's saying, how would I do that? How would I get started? What advice would you give them?
My advice would be to not limit yourself. Don't, I applied for a cashier position and I ended up doing what I'm doing, and I never would have thought that would happen. So I was kind of limiting myself, thinking that, this is what I'm able to do. This is what I've trained to do, and this is the only thing that I could do. But really, that wasn't true. I have the opportunity to continue to grow and learn, and so does everybody else. You can always be learning and bettering yourself. So even though I wasn't skilled and I didn't have a degree in social media and marketing, that was something that I learned along the way. I've gone to tourism meetings and conferences and done online trainings, and I've just built that over the past 2.5 years.
That's awesome.
To be successful, and I continue doing that. So,
what would younger youth tell you? What would they think of you?
Well, probably wouldn't think I'd be here. Younger me wanted to be an art teacher.
Okay.
And so I guess my advice would be, if your plans change, then just be flexible. Maybe that wasn't God's plan for you. So.
Well, that's awesome. Again, I appreciate you coming in. I know it was short notice, but you did a wonderful job. You are always welcome to be back on the show. Whatever events you all have, just please let us know, and we'd be happy to have you. Tell Brooks he don't have to come. We'll just take Brianna. It's fine. No.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Again, tell everyone about this event and when it's going to be and where they can find more information.
It's the second annual Casey Jones Village Festival, and you can find more information on our website at caseyjones.com/events, or you can go to our Facebook page, Brooke Shaw's Old Country Store, or our Instagram page, Casey Jones Village.
All right. Again, the second annual Casey Jones Village Festival. Come on out and bring your family and your friends. It should be cooler.
Yes.
I remember Brooks saying that last year, saying, man, I want to move it because it's so hot.
It was so hot.
It was hot. It was hot. We did give a brief reprieve. There was a big cloud.
Yes, I remember that, and that was like the best part of the day because we had been setting up the whole day before, and it was hot. I'm so glad we're doing it October 14th this year.
That's right. So if you're interested in being a vendor, contact Roxanne Lyons at there's a number 731-693-4290 or at rlyons RLYONSOCS@gmail.com. Also, if you're an area business and wants to connect and be a sponsor, sponsorships begin at $500. Should they call you or her about
They would call her.
They would call
yes.
her. Okay. Again, 731-693-4290. So make sure. Admission to the festival is free. I guess we should have said that first.
I said that.
I didn't.
It's free every year.
But bring money because there are vendors. There are going to be things there that you're going to want to buy and take home with you. So we really appreciate, again, Brianna Kline, Old Country Store marketing and events leader. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Again, Saturday, October 14th, 2023 at the farm at the Casey Jones Village Festival. Casey Jones Village, 56 Casey Jones Lane, right off the bypass. You can't miss it. Don't miss it. Make sure you come out and enjoy yourself. So we thank you all so much for watching the show, for tuning in, for listening. We'll have more great guests, so stay tuned. If you know of any events or things that we need to know about, please let us know. You can find more information online. We'll have the links to the festival everything that you need to know. We'll have it on our events page on Radio 731. So take care of one another. Watch out for one another. Have a wonderful and blessed week. God bless.